Adrenal fatigue and diabetes. These are very prevalent illnesses that could be affecting you and many people you know. Now, I suspect that the primary causes of these illnesses are, in fact, caffeine and excess sugar. Despite what experts say, despite the fact that experts focus on things like stress and being overweight or having and being inactive, or maybe your genetics, I really doubt this, because I've seen too many cases of people who have all the adrenal fatigue symptoms and people with diabetes, and pretty much all of them basically abuse caffeine. They excessively consume caffeine. And so because of its severity, adrenal fatigue turns into diabetes. It goes into, I suppose some people call it pre-diabetes, or maybe it goes into that, then diabetes. But basically, from certainly what I know, it starts with the fatigue of the adrenal glands and the stress system and goes into a worse condition that we call diabetes. So if you find yourself constantly tired or experiencing irregular energy patterns, then this could be why. And a good way to recognize it is to simply look at these energy patterns, because cortisol, for example, normally rises in the morning as we wake up, but this doesn't occur as efficiently or as significantly, if at all, for people with adrenal fatigue and diabetes. So these people often don't wake up feeling rested. They feel very tired or exhausted. You can even test by seeing if your blood sugar spikes just from drinking coffee. But also at the same time, I mean, there is a high tolerance for people who drink too much coffee, and that's why they have it. Now, frequent urination is another common symptom. If you're urinating around every hour or so, that's very frequent. Even every couple hours is more or less normal, but if you really feel the urge, then that's pretty frequent. And another really big indicator is that you just really succumb to that drowsiness, that post-meal drowsiness. And it only takes, even if you're at a point where it only takes a few bites of food, even half a sandwich in the afternoon, and you crash right after. A very big indicator as well is that caffeine dependence. These people who have this condition, who drink coffee and other things like that, Red Bull, they absolutely need that extra coffee in the afternoon or some kind of caffeinated drink just to get through the day. They won't be able to, if you experience this, you can't hold back that extreme drowsiness that follows lunch or any meal at that. It could be that pretty much every time you eat, you get really sleepy after. So for early risers who start work in the morning, a midday low often occurs around 10 or 11 in the morning, and you require a boost. Otherwise, the low happens any other time in the afternoon after some hours of being awake. And it takes the form of that very heavy crash after a meal or after exercise. You become completely overwhelmed by this wave of drowsiness, and you have to surrender to it, to a nap, or consume more caffeine to carry on. And what tends to happen too is that just sitting alone may cause you to become really drowsy And you used to never be this way, and nowadays, when you just by sitting for a few minutes on the bus during the day or at home, after 10 minutes or so, you're falling asleep. That's not normal. It shouldn't be that easy to fall asleep. Maybe you used to have insomnia and you don't anymore. It's a miracle. You don't have insomnia anymore. You can't even stay awake. That's another indicator. Of course, this condition can cause insomnia a lot too because the energy patterns are irregular. That's why they call it wired and tired. Another noticeable symptom is that unlike a healthy person, you can get really strong sugar cravings that tend to occur later in the day, like between the late afternoon and the evening especially. Maybe, 6 or 7 o'clock. You might have very little craving for chocolate or juice in the morning or any kind of candy. And then eventually after lunch and especially in the evening, there's this really strong craving for a tangy fruit flavored pop or juice or chocolate or something like that, something really sweet. Around dinner time. This is happening because when you stress out your adrenal glands, the system is pulling sugar from your liver, a lot of it, and you're depleting yourself of sugar. That's why you get that sugar craving. So what's happening is due to the excess caffeine, caffeine doesn't give you energy, right? It's extracting energy from you. The caffeine is pulling adrenaline and cortisol from your system, from your adrenals, adrenal glands, and cortisol from your system. It's causing stress in your body. The cells in our muscle and our fat and liver and pancreas are becoming resistant to insulin. And as a result, the cells don't take in enough sugar. So the pancreas can't make enough insulin to keep blood sugar levels within a healthy range. And furthermore, so that's why this caffeine is stimulating the liver to produce sugar as well. This is what leads to high blood sugar levels. And the way to test it is to see if your daily dose of coffee gives you high blood sugar. Now, interestingly, around 6 o'clock or a few hours after lunch, these people get a sudden boost sometimes, and they're left feeling better than they have all day. They might feel more balanced around 9:30 at night. So if they fight their natural sleepiness until 11 o'clock or midnight, they get a second wind. Or before, like if they have that second wind around 9 o'clock, they're fighting in the afternoon. So this second wind can, prompt them to stay up and they have to stay up if they have insomnia. So you start reading and cleaning and doing various chores until finally, late at night or in the morning, you're able to feel drowsy again. So the most refreshing sleep for these kinds of people is to get up between 7 and 9 a.m. Or just if you can allow yourself to sleep until 9 in the morning instead of getting up so early, that would be very good. That means going to bed earlier to get up at that time, though. So this means that way your body can produce cortisol. You don't use up the cortisol, that mild stressor of waking up. Your body can produce it on its own, and you'll have more to use up during the day if you sleep in a bit more. So adrenal fatigue is often not diagnosed, and a lot of the time people do have diabetes and they're not diagnosed because the symptoms aren't quite strong enough yet, but they're definitely noticing something's a bit off. They get tired all the time. caffeine dependent, can't stay awake, and even causes other symptoms too, like when the blood sugar gets too irregular, it can drop very radically as well, not just after eating, not just the crash, but just from being depleted from a little bit of exercise. So you might start noticing that it doesn't take much exercise than it used to actually feel, it causes like an upset stomach, or you can get nauseous when your blood sugar is low. So if you've ever noticed that you've been working for, you're at your job, and after a few hours of standing and working, after 3 or 5 or 6 hours, especially if you don't take a break, you've been working all day or even half a shift, and you start to feel kind of sick. You feel a little bit queasy or nauseous. But it seems like for no reason, this is persistently happening. And especially if you're not eating much that time, or on the days you don't eat, you feel like that. It's because it's not from overworking necessarily, because you probably noticed that you used to be able to work, 8, 10, 11 hours without feeling like this. And now all of a sudden, after 4 or 5 or 6 hours of like labor work or standing without taking a break, you feel like this. It's low blood sugar. Yeah, that's what I learned recently. And what fixes this really well, I got an insight about this. I just received it. It was this thought that came into my mind that I didn't create. And the thought said, my Tathagata said, eat fruit. Eat fruit to stabilize blood sugar. I thought, oh, okay, I'll try that. And it works really well, at least for me. So you got to replenish your blood sugar when it goes down it goes down easily when you have adrenal fatigue and diabetes. So when you use your body like that, you're exercising or you're working for a few hours, or you're exercising intensely for like 40 minutes. When you exercise more, the blood sugar goes down even faster. You got to replenish yourself with, I think, fruit. I mean, fruit juice has been used. If it's 100% natural fruit juice, that's pretty good. That should work. And it's even better to eat whole fruit. Any kind of, most fruit is good. It should do the job because it has fiber. Most fruits have a lot of fiber, right? So it doesn't digest. There's the fructose in the fruit juices. That fructose sugar is a slow digesting sugar. It's good for you. And when you eat the whole fruit, you get the good fructose sugar, and it digests even slower because the fruit has fiber. So that's really helpful. Eating fruit when you feel like that, of course, you also want to rest too a bit. And when you eat that fruit, you can feel good pretty quickly, actually. And eating, ketogenic foods, like lots of protein, slow digesting food, protein, beans, brown rice, eating less carbs, that stuff all helps, right? The carbs you eat, they say you shouldn't have carbs, or you need slow digesting food, right? It's got to have a low glycemic index. Bananas are usually okay. It's pretty slow digesting for a carb. Right, slow digesting starches, brown rice, oatmeal, eating less carbs, eating carbs with protein, having lots of protein. It's all very helpful. So given that much of doctors' education is sponsored and influenced by the pharmaceutical industry, there is little incentive to promote treatments that don't bring in revenue. And despite the diagnosis difficulty, people can do a lot to help themselves like this by focusing on lifestyle changes, which is the primary treatment if you want to go the holistic way. I am a firm believer that pretty much every condition or terrible illness that exists, including cancer, has a cure. I think it's simple. It always has been simple, and the things getting in the way have been the government and the health industry is wanting to make money, basically. Right? Cancer does have a cure. Of course it does. Because oftentimes, if it's not caused by, you know, terrible chemicals that have been in your body or asbestos that's stuck in your lungs, then the cause is basically natural. If a natural cause of an illness is what you have, then it takes a natural remedy to reverse it. So if it wasn't a chemical or something that's stuck in your body, but if caffeine, for example, is the cause of diabetes, then it just requires the right lifestyle changes and nutrition to reverse it, to heal it. So Master Samael taught this. He talked about remedies for cancer, and he has a remedy for affected kidneys, he calls it, which is, I assume, adrenal fatigue. And he has a diabetes one too. And those remedies are almost the same. You can basically use them interchangeably. They get the same effect. So the first thing is reducing or eliminating caffeine. It's a huge one. Or sugar. If your thing is sugar, maybe it was caused by sugar, right? You don't want more than like 30 grams of sugar per day. So strictly stick with that and count your sugar. You don't need more than 30 grams a day. If you're small, then it's less than that. I mean, if you already have adrenal fatigue or diabetes, 30 grams is already too much because of your state. But I mean, if you stick with that anyway, because you love sugar and you're not disciplined, it's probably doable. It's not like really excessive, you know, the way that some people are, where they drink a whole 2 liter of pop every day kind of thing. So you have to minimize stress too. That is, of course, still a contributor to adrenal fatigue. If you're coming from a traumatic background, if something traumatic happened recently or it was an elongated period, then maybe that was the cause. But I'm talking about the very common cause of caffeine, the detriments of that. But if there's stress in your life, try your best to remove yourself from that. You want to reduce it as much as you can. Live a stress-free life, because that affects adrenal glands, right? Stress. Adrenal fatigue can come with a mild depression too. Sometimes it's just the idea that you're unwell and unhealthy or inadequate or underperforming that makes you depressed. In other cases, it's the imbalance of hormones and minerals. Other cases, it's because your nature is to be depressed, and that's a water nature. If you have a lot of water in your astrology. But that's only in sun, moon, and rising. It's not as much in the other planets. So you gotta keep your chin up, because recovery is possible. It's not impossible. That idea that it's impossible is depressing, isn't it? So you want to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Taking rests during the day. You want to be healthy. You want to be active, right? You should exercise every day. Even just 12, 15 minutes of straight cardio. If your heart rate is up, sustained for, completely at a high BPM for a straight 12 or 15 minutes, that is sufficient for the day. That's a lot of cardio for your system. That's how you stay healthy. But if you can find activities that are more enjoyable, then you'll have fun with it. And it's a great way to get exercise, right? So, biking and going to the gym or doing calisthenics or parkour or martial arts, those are great. But because of this condition, you gotta eat before. At least have a snack. Not a heavy meal, that'll be uncomfortable, but a snack to fuel yourself, and make sure to have something after, a protein shake, milk, like non-dairy milk, bananas, afterwards fruit, and then eventually have your post-activity meal. Now, supplements are good too. So diabetes are essentially states of hormonal and energy depletion. So here's a list of supplements that work by directly supporting the adrenal glands, that ability to produce cortisol and other hormones, so you can enhance cellular energy and help your body manage stress, regulate energy, and manage inflammation. Because your glands are depleted of these minerals when it's in this state. So you need B vitamins for energy, and C vitamins are critical cofactors necessary for the adrenal glands to perform their tasks. Vitamin B1 is good. You can get it from nutritional yeast, actually, and B5, pantothenic acid, I believe it's called. They're fundamental for stress response. So vitamin B5, pantothenic acid, it's often called the anti-stress vitamin because it plays a direct and vital role in the synthesis and balancing of cortisol and other adrenal hormones. And then people take vitamins 6 and 12. I guess it gives them energy. 12 is a very good one for energy. I don't know exactly what it does, but it's very good. It can be hard to absorb though. You might need a prescription. Now, vitamin C, adrenal glands utilize this. The highest concentration of vitamin C in the entire body is in the adrenal glands. So it's essential for producing stress hormones and helping to modulate the cortisol response during periods of stress, high demand. And you need buffered vitamin C, probably ascorbic acid may not work very well, if at all, right? Calcium ascorbate is what you need, buffered vitamin C. It's like an alkaline version. It's calcium to some extent. Vitamin E is good. This nutrition acts as an antioxidant, and it neutralizes free radicals from increased metabolic stress. Now, minerals. They're key for regulating energy production and hormone signaling. Magnesium is the top one. Magnesium is vital for numerous bodily functions. It has like upwards of 500 functions. It supports cellular energy production, ATP, and which is often accompanied during fatigue. It also aids in digestive muscle contractions, peristalsis. For a lot of people, including myself, it's really effective for digestion. If you have indigestion all the time or heartburn, sometimes all you need is to take a magnesium and your heartburn or your bloating and burping goes away. Just, 100 or up 100 to 100, a couple hundred milligrams is usually effective. I don't usually need more than 100 milligrams after a meal to digest better, because your body relaxes, your nervous system relaxes with magnesium. So it can make those contractions and it can, excrete the digestive enzymes and the acid. And that leads to better nutrient absorption too. If you are stressed, then your digestion, that system shuts down significantly. And so that's like impossible to eat anything. And if you're not nervous or anxious, your body still might be kind of stressed. So it's good to have, like chronically stressed, it's good to have that magnesium. So as I mentioned, calcium, you can take that on its own too. Adequate calcium intake is good for endocrine function. Your adrenal glands are part of your endocrine system. I believe the thyroid and pituitary and pineal are as well, but I know the adrenal glands for sure. It's good for circadian rhythms too, and the balance of cortisol. Now there are trace minerals as well. Micronutrients are necessary in small amounts, but they're critical cofactors for thousands of enzymatic processes. So magnesium, salt, potassium are really good. Now, interesting one, another very effective, powerful thing that you get from drinking tea. Samael suggests his tea remedies is what you're getting in that are things that work right on the kidneys and the adrenal glands, and these are adaptogens. So adaptogenic herbs are specialized herbs that help your adrenals adapt to stress, and they modulate the output of stress hormones, regardless of whether the body is underproducing or overproducing them. And some of these adaptogens, mostly they're from mushrooms like ashwagandha, and that one's known for its ability to lower elevated cortisol and reduce anxiety. It promotes calmness and better sleep. Now, cordyceps, this is an energy-boosting mushroom, and it supports stamina and endurance, and it mitigates energy crashes. Then astragalus, and this is known for its immune-supporting properties, and it helps the body cope with general stress and fatigue. There's also maca. It's used to support the endocrine and produce hormonal balance, and improve libido and energy. And there's also some specialized ingredients here that I have for regulation and production. There's amino acids. It's good to get your protein every day, and you get amino acids from complete proteins. So these are the building blocks of amino acids are the building blocks of proteins and hormones. Specific amino acids are precursors for important neurotransmitters. Those transmissions happening in your brain, the signals, and that's essential for mood regulation and stabilizing the nervous system, because if you have a neurotransmitter problem, that can cause anxiety attacks and panic attacks or other kinds of fatigue problems or sleep problems. Magnesium is great for the neurotransmitters as well. But amino acids like GABA or L-theanine are great for your brain. And they can help with irritability too. Then there's licorice root. This herb contains compounds like glycyrrhizin or glycyrrhizin. It helps slow and break down the circulating cortisol. It's beneficial if you have extremely low cortisol levels throughout the day. There's cumin and whole fruit, as I mentioned. It regulates cumin and whole fruit. So these regulate blood sugar release. You want to, this is a blood sugar problem too, right? You want a consistent blood sugar. You want it to be regular. You don't always have high blood sugar with diabetes. You can also have low blood sugar a lot of the time. It's unstable, right? After you eat, you get that spike of blood sugar, the insulin spike, and then you get a crash. That's irregular. You want it to be stable. So stabilizing blood sugar is critical, reducing the burden on your adrenals. So there's a lot of stuff that I mentioned. There's antioxidants and minerals and vitamins, adaptogens. So to put it all together, I think I'll mention a couple more things here. Ingredients or remedies. For the aforementioned ingredients are combined to, they're combined usually though. When you look for adrenaline supplements, these are great because they have everything you need all in one. That's what you want. So you can find these proprietary supplements specifically designed to target these problems, and you can remedy diabetes with these adrenaline products. So we have things like Adrenasmart by Smart Solutions, Bounce Back Adrenal Recharge by Orange Naturals, which is typically a blend of B vitamins and adaptogens like ashwagandha. There's Drenamin, which contains B vitamins and C and adrenaline extracts. Drenatrophin, it contains granular support like adrenaline tissue concentrates. Prev also has an adrenaline one. I think it's called ashwagandha and something. These are all great. I think the combination of adaptogens is wonderful with some magnesium and vitamin C, but they usually have most of those things. Now, I will mention, because this is a Gnostic group, some of these some occult medicine, because these are a more holistic and traditional means of medicine, herbal medicine. So Venerable Master Samael, he has some remedies, tea remedies. So in his book, Treatise of Occult Medicine and Practical Magic, these teas aim to provide a comprehensive formula of cofactors and adaptogens. I think I'll just leave the links to the shorts that explain these ingredients here. But basically, most teas are quite effective. You can't go wrong with black tea and green tea, actually. If you can find a high quality black tea or green tea is probably the best. I didn't know this, but yeah, green tea with its antioxidants and other properties, it's effective at healing the adrenal glands. It's effective at curing diabetes. So it does have some caffeine, and you can have enough of this stuff that you don't need your coffee every day. If you have a couple cups of this or so, that should be good. You don't want more. You probably don't want more than 3 cups because that gets a bit high in the caffeine. You shouldn't be having, most everyday healthy people shouldn't even be having more than a couple cups of coffee a day, because that's almost a couple 100 milligrams of caffeine. That is a lot. That's why the government regulation is now from 4 or 3 down to like less than 3. So 3 cups of tea though is reasonable, and this drinking it throughout the day is great. It gives you that steady release and it heals your body. So green tea is the most effective, a high quality green tea. A green tea extract, a pill, in pill form, right? That's excellent and easier, more convenient. That way you don't have to constantly make tea, these batches of tea. So there you have